Starting off this countdown, we have the earthquake. According to famous prophet Nostradamus, a series of terrible earthquakes are going to destroy all of California. He said, all through the lands of the West there will be great calamity. People interpreted the lands of the West as California, and they are prone to big earthquakes. But they might not recover from this one. He continued on saying this will happen when Mercury is in Sagittarius and Saturn is fading. So looking at the yearly horoscope, people have pinpointed the exact date that this will happen. November 25th, 2021. That is when Mercury will reach Sagittarius, just like Nostradamus said. So yeah, maybe it's time to move out of Cali if you live there. Coming in at number 9, we have the dragons. Okay, this prediction is more on the wild side, so I doubt it will come true. But hey, it's 2021, so at this point, you never really know. So, Baba Vanga predicted that a dragon will take over Earth. Yeah, she said, and I quote, "A strong dragon will seize humanity. The 3 giants will unite. Some people will have red money." Now, some have interpreted this as a real fire-breathing dragon, but others have thought that the dragon might refer to China. The 3 giants are a reference to Russia, India, and China. So maybe China, being the powerhouse country that it is, will try to dominate the world alongside Russia and India. No clue. Guess we'll just have to wait and see. In our 8th spot, we have Vladimir Putin. Baba Vanga had some pretty creepy predictions when it came to Russia. In particular, their leader, President Vladimir Putin. She predicted that there will be an attempt made to assassinate Putin. Now, she did say attempt, so maybe it wasn't successful, but apparently it will be carried out by someone in his government. So he better be watching his back. Someone may be coming for him. In our 7th spot, we have the economic collapse. Sadly, we already know that many businesses are suffering because of COVID. Many small businesses had to close their doors. Turns out that Nostradamus predicted that and more. He said that there will be a great economic collapse in 2021. He first predicted there will be an economic crash in 2008. And guess what? There was, with the whole stock market crash. But he also said 2021 there will be another one. So let's see if this prediction will come true again. In our 6th spot, we have the robot soldiers. Not gonna lie, Nostradamus had some pretty weird predictions for 2021. Take this next one, for example. He predicted that American soldiers will be inserted with some chip to help them become superhumans / these weird robot cyborg soldiers. This chip is inserted so that humans will feel no emotions and will basically become ruthless killing machines. He said, and I quote, "The newly made ones will lead the army. The Duke deprived of his eyes." So these newly made soldiers will be deprived of their eyes, meaning they are controlled by the chip inserted in them, so they're kind of blind to their own actions. And they will be the leaders through any 2021 conflicts. And apparently, Nostradamus said that this needs to be done to save the human race. It's pretty creepy, I know. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the continual outbreak. Okay, not gonna lie, this one is pretty depressing. But it's that in 2021, more outbreaks are going to occur from different viruses. Yeah, so not just COVID, we'll have to worry about other viruses as well. So child astrologer Abhigya Anand actually posted a video on his YouTube channel in August of 2019. In that video, he literally predicted COVID and the whole pandemic. Since he predicted that, a lot of people want to know what else he sees in store for the future. Well, a couple of months ago, he posted another video. This time, he said that in 2021, more viruses will come, resulting in more outbreaks. He predicts that some of these outbreaks will be more severe than COVID. Well, with this virus continually mutating, this might be a possibility. Isn't that great? Doesn't that just cheer you up? Looks like I'll never give anyone a hug ever again. Moving on to number 4, we have the end of humanity. According to Nostradamus, the pandemic is the start to the downfall of humanity. He predicted, and I quote, "After great trouble for humanity, a greater one is prepared. The great mover renews the ages. Rain, blood, milk, famine, steel, and plague. Is the heavens' fire seen, a long spark running." Now, the great trouble for humanity he's referring to is the pandemic, meaning once we think it's over, new horrors await us, like famine, another plague, worldwide fires. All this leading to the loss of lives, hence the blood that he was referring to. That's pretty terrifying, not gonna lie. And I was looking forward to the end of the pandemic, and now I'm scared as to what's gonna happen afterwards. Coming in at number 3, we have the Great Flood. In case all this wasn't bad enough, the entire Earth might just flood over. Nostradamus predicted, and I quote, "We shall see the water rising and the earth falling under it." I mean, that's not so cryptic as his other predictions. It's pretty straightforward. Sea levels are rising, and soon it will get so bad that cities will be flooded. We already know that climate change is a huge problem and is causing polar ice caps to melt, etc. Will 2021 be the Earth's breaking point? On top of that, Nostradamus said, and I quote, "Bodies dead by water, land one will bring there." Yeah, so when can we move to Mars? That's my question. Moving on to number 2, we have the disasters. Nostradamus isn't the only one to predict that 2020 will be filled with natural disasters. Baba Vanga predicted this as well. In fact, she talked about a cataclysmic tsunami that would strike Asia. In fact, she first talked about this back in the 90s. And guess what? In 2004, Southeast Asia was hit with a deadly tsunami that took the lives of 220,000 people. So she predicted this correctly once. She might get it right again. Not only that, but she said that the world will face a number of meteorite strikes and earthquakes. Great. Why can't someone predict the world will be filled with sunshines and rainbows and peace? Like, come on. And in our number 1 spot, we have the zombie apocalypse. This one truly scares me. Like, all we need is for the virus to mutate and people start becoming zombies. But according to Nostradamus, it might happen. So he predicted, and I quote, "Few young people, half dead to give a start. Great evils to occur. Sad concepts will come to harm each other. Fathers and mothers dead of infinite sorrows. Women in mourning. The pestilent she-monster. All the world to end." Yeah, that's a lot to take in. But the whole people turning half dead sounds like zombies to me. Some believe that this might occur as a result of a biological weapon that will produce a virus that can turn us all into zombies. Either way, this won't be good. And he did say that the world is going to end, so that's depressing.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have a zombie apocalypse. This one comes from the list of Nostradamus predictions for the year. He wrote that it would start off with a Russian scientist and lead to total extinction. While I'm a huge Last of Us fan, I would prefer if we kept the zombies in the game instead of real life. Nostradamus said it would be a few young people who would be half dead to give start. Honestly, the virus we're dealing with right now is certainly bad enough, so let's hope this is one prediction that Nostradamus was way off on. In our number 9 spot today, we have a biblical famine. Before the pandemic, the world was already having an interesting time trying to feed our ever-growing population, but the pandemic has had an immense effect on our world and has left millions of people without proper access to food. Whether it's the production of food that has taken a hit in some countries, or the loss of jobs and the crashing of the economy that has left more people turning to food banks for help, food insecurity is definitely increasing. In 2020, we saw the Democratic Republic of the Congo add an additional 7 million people to its crisis of food security, and we also saw 20 million people in Yemen in an absolutely dire situation. This is just a few examples of places where famine is at an absolute extreme, but it is absolutely not an isolated incident. The economic impact of the pandemic coinciding with climate change is certainly not a great combination. In our number 8 spot today, we have the big one in California. Well, we have known for a while that at some point there's going to be a pretty devastating earthquake in California. It could be coming up a lot quicker than we anticipated. Nostradamus has predicted that a huge earthquake will hit the New World or the Western lands, and California is truly the most likely place in the West for this to happen. He said that it would happen when Mercury is in Sagittarius, shout out to Sagittarius, and when Saturn is fading. According to astrologers, those two planets will be in these positions on November 25th of this year. In our number 7 spot today, we have cybersecurity. There have been predictions of huge cybersecurity breaches coming this year. People are looking forward to hopefully the end of the lockdowns we've seen due to the pandemic, and hopefully more people will be able to transition back to working in the office rather than having to continue working from home. With this change, it's possible that hackers could use this time as a time to strike. As people transfer from working on different computers and networks, there might be some slip-ups in encryption or people uploading things to the cloud that normally wouldn't be uploaded. I'm obviously no computer expert, so I'm not exactly sure how this all works, but all I know is that people are saying this could be the year we see just how unsecure all of our computers really are. In our number 6 spot today, we have cyborg soldiers. I think this one is the most far-fetched for me personally on this list, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. Maybe it already has and I don't even know. There are predictions that American soldiers will have chips implanted in their brains that will give them an artificial intelligence level of thinking. While this could be cool in theory, I have absolutely no idea how this would work, let alone all of the negative implications this could have. It would definitely be cool to have the ability to process things on an entirely different level, but mixing that kind of power with human nature really could be a deadly combination. But before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. It really helps us out. In our number 5 spot, in our halfway mark, we have the fact that coronavirus might just continue. One of the scariest predictions for the year is basically just going through the same thing that we went through last year. In January of 2020, we honestly had no idea that it would be one of the most difficult years globally. If you're in one of the countries that has managed to get a handle on the virus and is no longer in lockdown, people are afraid of the virus finding its way back in. The vaccine is definitely a saving grace, trying to help our world return to how it functioned pre-pandemic, but we certainly aren't out of the woods yet. People are afraid that COVID-19 will continue to greatly affect a ton of countries and that this new second strain might bring another extremely tough year. In our number 4 spot today, we have the end of antibiotics. Doctors have been warning us for years that eventually antibiotics will become obsolete due to an increase in antibiotic use. This comes from overuse as well as improper use of the medicine, and we honestly might be seeing those repercussions pretty soon. We're seeing more bacteria and illnesses evolve into superbugs that are immune to the powers of penicillin. This could lead to people getting more sick, more serious complications from illnesses, and even potentially more deaths due to things that would have been treatable. In our number 3 spot today, we have aliens. From the UFO footage that was released by the Pentagon to all these random mysterious monoliths popping up all over the world, it is starting to seem more and more likely that maybe there really is life on other planets, and it might just be the year that they make real contact with humans. There are tons of people who believe that 2021 is the year of the alien, and honestly that number grows every day. Space is incomprehensibly huge, and so the potential for there to actually be aliens feels likely. I want you guys to let me know in the comments if you could meet an alien, would you? And what do you think aliens look like? I just want to know. I'm just curious. In our number 2 spot today, we have solar storms. We apparently might see some pretty intense and devastating solar storms this year. These storms were predicted by Nostradamus, but also have been in the news recently as the sun has been showing more and more activity. These solar storms could have a terrible effect on our Earth and mess with available resources, and could potentially even render some areas unlivable. Nostradamus said we will see rising water and the Earth falling under it. If this were to happen, we could potentially see mass migration and fighting over resources, which we already do, so that would not be good. Hopefully the sun just feels like acting like the cool guy with sunglasses that I always drew him to be in the corner of my elementary school drawings. If you know, you know. In our number 1 spot today, we have an asteroid. Another Nostradamus prediction is that of an asteroid hitting Earth. While he didn't say the word asteroid, he did speak of a long trail of sparks within the sky, which is made of fireplace, and so honestly I'm not really sure how else this could be interpreted. There's a chance that you might be wondering if there are any potential asteroids lurking around that might be worth keeping an eye on. Like the asteroids just lurk around? Like what? And the answer to that is unfortunately yes. NASA is keeping tabs on a large meteor called 2009 KF1 because it could be on track to collide with Earth on the 6th of May this year. In our number 10 spot today, we have a mega tsunami. Climate change has had a lot of different effects on our world, but one could be catastrophic in 2021. Scientists have been watching the retreat of a glacier in Prince William Sound, which is about 60 miles from Anchorage, Alaska. The glacier is supporting a mile-long slope, and once too much of the ice melts, a landslide will occur. The landslide could happen from an earthquake, heavy rain, or even a heat wave. Scientists say that the landslide could happen at any time, but the further the glacier recedes, the more imminent it will be. The slope is roughly 500 million cubic meters of rock and dirt, and it would cause a tsunami that would start out being several hundred feet high. It would reach the town of Whittier around 20 minutes after and would still be 30 feet high and would cause a lot of destruction. Also, the amount of people who go fishing in this area, as well as the fact that Whittier is often a spot where cruise ship stops, means that there would be a lot of people affected if this did happen. There could be thousands of people who are devastatingly affected by this mega tsunami. In our number 9 spot today, we have the prediction that President Biden will have health issues. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying the video so far, because it really helps us out. Even before the election or the inauguration, people have been questioning the health of the new American president, Joe Biden. President Biden is actually the oldest president America has ever had, and unfortunately, old age can be coupled with health complications. People have predicted that we could see President Biden needing to take a step down this year due to health issues. I hope that this isn't the case and that he is able to stay healthy for his time in office, but there are of course policies put in place in the unfortunate circumstance that this happens. This would of course leave Vice President Kamala Harris with the duty of stepping up to take on the presidential role. In our number 8 spot today, we have government tracking. In 2021, there are people who believe we are going to be seeing an increase of being tracked by the government. We really are tracked a lot, as is considering I have a device on me at all times that scans my face and remembers every location I visit, and not to mention the fact that it also tracks the websites I visit and listens to my conversations. But people say that even more tracking could come into play. Some people believe we are moving even closer to a cashless society, which would mean every purchase you make being tracked. Some places are mandating location-based apps be installed in order to track the spread of COVID, but some countries have just looked at location-based data from phones without even using an app at all. Some people worry that the measures that have been implemented for safety during the pandemic might carry through once life does return to some form of normalcy. In our number 7 spot today, we have the pay gap. For a few years now, the pay gap between genders has been more widely discussed than ever before. We saw people being empowered to speak up when they were being treated unfairly, and we saw a small change in the gap, which was positive, but there of course is still more work to be done. One of the predictions for 2021 is that people believe we will go back in time on this issue. There are beliefs that the economic impact that the pandemic had on the world will leave people cutting corners wherever they can, and that this will leave female identifying people struggling to get paid fairly. I truly hope this doesn't happen, as it would be such a step back for us on something that we really shouldn't even have to discuss in the first place. In our number 6 spot today, we have America collapsing. America had quite the year last year between the pandemic, the riots, the struggling economy, and the whirlwind election. People are speculating that Americans might be at their wits' end, and that this year we could see the collapse of America as one of the leading nations of the world. Experts believe that the world needs a leader, and that it is possible China could be seen taking the place of America as the global leader. Certainly be interesting to see what 2021 brings America and Americans, but I truly hope it is nothing but good things. In our number 5 spot today, we have ghosts. I know a lot of you out there already believe strongly in this one, so this is for those of you that don't believe. People are predicting that 2021 will bring the confirmation that ghosts exist. Little is detailed about how exactly this would come about, as it would take some pretty strong evidence to persuade most of the skeptics to truly believe, but I'm certainly open to the possibility of this one. I know there are paranormal hunters who go out and explore and try to communicate with ghosts, but are there any scientists who work on trying to prove that ghosts exist? If you are someone who doesn't believe in ghosts, please leave a comment below on what proof you would need in order to start believing that they are real. In our number 4 spot today, we have a new virus. People believe with the hopeful end of COVID-19 on the horizon that we will see a new virus that will send the world right back into lockdown. I'm honestly not sure how this one would go. I think people already have a lot of pandemic fatigue, so I'm not entirely convinced that we would be open to locking down for another who knows how long, especially considering the fact that a lot of people are still locked down. Who knows where this new virus would even come from or how it would affect our health. I think it would have to be a lot more deadly than COVID for it to have the same global impact, but I'm no health expert and I'm still in lockdown, so I truly have no idea. And our number 3 3 spot today we have an internet outage. In part 1 of this video, I talked about solar storms and flares, but what I didn't talk about is one of the biggest impacts of them. If we saw a solar storm big enough, it could wipe out electrical grids, satellite communications, and the internet. This would be pretty catastrophic for our world as we heavily rely on the use of electronics in our daily lives. In 1859, there was a powerful solar storm that had telegraphic systems all over the world failing, and some of the operators of them even felt shocks due to the electrical current running through them. If something like that happened all the way back in 1859, it certainly could happen now, and quite possibly this year. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Yellowstone eruption. People are predicting that the Yellowstone supervolcano could be due to erupt at any point. This has been a prediction that has popped up in the news before, and honestly, scientists have admitted that it is extremely difficult to predict exactly when the volcano will erupt again. They do say that when an eruption is imminent, people will be notified beforehand because of the absolutely devastating effects it will have. If Yellowstone has a super eruption, we'll see earthquakes in the area leading up to the eruption as the magma rocks are being broken up. Once the eruption happened, volcanic ash would be hurled into the air and scattered across North America. Volcanic ash is made up of splintered rocks and glass and would kill people, animals, plants, and can even crush buildings. It would basically render a lot of North America totally unlivable. It would also affect the global climate, and it could cool our Earth. In our number 1 spot today, we have World War III. A lot of people are predicting this is the year that we see the next World War. This was an extremely popular topic of conversation at the beginning of the year last year, as tensions between the US and Iran were rising, but when COVID began to spread and the fear surrounding it grew, that quickly became the focus. Now that the pandemic is settling down for some places, the talk and speculations of a world war being on the horizon are swirling again. It's tough to say exactly what would cause it and the place it is most likely to break out in, but unfortunately, it is a possibility.
Coming in number 10, we have World War III.
USS Flynn, prepare to engage.
I don't know what needs to happen to kick off a world war, but it would seem that tensions are pretty high right now. I mean, we have a global pandemic, a global economic crisis. We just watched one of the strangest presidential elections that I have ever seen, and it would seem that the super rich just keep getting richer. So I don't know how unstable things need to get to force countries to go into an all-out war with each other, but it would seem that we might be reaching a breaking point. In one of Nostradamus' passages, he wrote, "Twice put up and twice cast down. The East will also weaken the West. Its adversary, after several battles chased by sea, will fall at time of need." This could mean that there will be a conflict break out between the East and West. Who those people will be, I have no idea. I don't have the gift of clairvoyance and I don't even watch the news, so I'm just spitballing over here. But if I had to guess who the big superpowers in the East and West are, we got America and we also got China. Russia could be one of those guys too. They might want to all get at each other's throats because one of these countries might think that they need a bigger seat at the table. We also have the fact that new tax laws are going to be put on the super rich, and that always ruffles some feathers. Coming in at number 9, we have rising sea levels. Okay, let's revisit one of the points that I just brought up. Again, Nostradamus said adversaries after several battles chased by sea will fail at time of need. Okay, so if we were able to read this normally, it sounds like we're talking about war, but your adversary doesn't have to be a person. What about our planet? I mean, it says chased by sea. What if it literally means the sea will be chasing us down and trying to take our land away from us because the sea levels are rising and we're going to end up underwater? And when it says we fail in time of need, that could be referencing all the people that need help now from sea levels rising and all the ways we could probably help slow down climate change that we aren't doing, and how all these people will be left in the dust by the rapidly changing environment. I don't think now would be a good opportunity to buy a beachside home. I think you should think more inland, somewhere that's high with a neutral climate that has a lot of land for you to grow stuff on. If anyone watching this video is planning on making some sort of doomsday farm, hit me up in my DMs. I'm looking for a backup plan if the whole world starts to fall apart. And guys, remember to hit that like button because it really helps us out. Coming at number 8, we have Trump will fall ill. I mean, I don't think Nostradamus used the name Trump, but you know he was talking about world leaders leaders of some country. It seems that some people think that one of the predictions that came from the French prophet was that Trump would fall ill with a mysterious sickness. Now some people could say that this has already happened and he was fine. As we all remember, Trump caught the coronavirus and walked out on that balcony and stood in front of all that people. He was kind of breathing like a goldfish. But is COVID-19 that mysterious of an illness? I don't really think so. We all know where this thing came from and what it does to people. I think if this prediction is going to come true, it's going to be something much more mysterious that snags him. Now, what is that mysterious thing going to be? Well, I have no clue. If I did, it wouldn't be that mysterious now, would it? But I think it would be something that would have him in the hospital for quite some time. Will this take the dude out? I don't know. I told you guys this thing is supposed to be mysterious. Coming in number 7, we have the assassination attempt of Putin. Well, this one actually makes perfect sense. The guy's supposed to be maybe the most powerful person on the planet. And when you're in the hot seat and people are very afraid of you, they're also gunning to take you out. There's an old rule of power. You never want to be the king. You want to be the guy who advises the king, because if he ever falls, you can be like, dude, I didn't even do anything. It was all this crazy dude. And then you can sneak out with anything horrible happening to you. But Nostradamus has called that someone will come for the king and try to take his crown. Not only that, but that the reason he will be assassinated will be attributed to the fact that someone close to him betrays him. I know, that is the tea, ladies and gentlemen. Someone who is close to Vladimir Putin is going to set him up to be killed. Now, will this attempt work? Well, I think we have a theme here. I have no idea. For the sake of whoever is going to try and pull this off, I hope it does, because if you try and kill Vladimir Putin and then you're unsuccessful and he finds you, he's going to torture you for longer than he has been king of Russia or whatever his title is. Coming in number 6, we have the rise of mechanization. I mean, from our perspective, this seems like a no-brainer, but thinking back to when Nostradamus was alive, it would have been a long shot to call out mechanization. In one passage he wrote, "The new sage with a lone brain sees it, by his disciples invented to be immortal, eyes to the south, hands in blossom, bodies in fire." The new sage with a lone brain could be referencing the hive mind that robots would have to take all of our jobs. They would all operate with one central hub and they would all be controlled from there, and they obviously would be immortal in a sense. Obviously everything can die, but the fact that robots can constantly be repaired and upgraded and never need to stop working as long as their model is relevant, they can keep going. Having a robot workforce is the closest thing we'll ever have to having someone who can work forever, never need a break, and they also don't need any rights. But what does that mean for everyone else who needs to work to feed their family and just to survive? I mean, we don't really have a system set up for people who want to opt out of capitalism. Do I hear universal basic income, anybody?
Nice.
Next on the list, we have economic collapse. We have already taken a massive hit from the coronavirus. Many people lost their jobs. Some people are just making way less money at work, and there doesn't seem to be end in sight. The vaccine should help, but there's no guarantee that this is going to be the end of the virus. Now, in the meantime, some countries are forking over money to their people if they don't have a job or were fired or were laid off or need some time to get things back together. Other countries are not providing anything to their people, and I don't really know how those people are surviving. I mean, you still have to pay bills, but there's no money coming in. So it's suspected that many people are just digging a massive hole with debt, and when this is all over, unless there's some sort of financial aid to get these people out of debt, there will be no way that they can break free from this. And we might start to see people walk out on their debts or mass bankruptcy sweep over countries. This would cause the economy to flop and everything to fall into chaos.
Well, that sucks.
Coming in number 4, we have the vaccine will make us sick. Now, I want to say right off the bat, I am not anti-vaccination. This is a top 10 list for a top 10 channel, and this video is about predictions from a guy who is dead. Don't take this too seriously. So Nostradamus predicted a massive plague around 2020, and I think it's easy to see what the plague was. It was clearly COVID-19. But some people are speculating that the real sickness is yet to come.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I hope that this isn't the case. We might be at the tail end of this thing, so I would like it to be over as soon as possible. If another pandemic is on its way, I'm just going to move to some isolated island and become a farmer. But some people suspect that the vaccine was a rush job and will lead to more people getting sick and cause a second outbreak of a new virus that we are not prepared for. That sounds lovely.
You are not
not prepared.
Coming in number 3, we have natural disasters. This is nothing new coming from Nostradamus. This is the kind of thing he loves to call out, but this time it seems to be focused in one place, and that place is America. There are earthquakes, tornadoes, floods, and a whole bunch of other junk that might be headed towards the States in 2021. I mean, can't things finally turn around after how crazy of a year 2020 was? You think the universe would be tired of stressing everyone out for just a little bit and would take a break, but it turns out that things might get even more hectic. But if you're not living in the States, I guess it's nice to know that Nostradamus hasn't called any destructive feats of nature to come crashing through your door. I guess it's time to start dipping into that donation fund because there might be a few places that are in need of some help in the coming year. Coming in at number 2, we have mass revolution. We are in the late stages of capitalism, and as much as people like to pitch the idea that everyone can make it in this world with a little elbow grease and time, that's not true for everyone, and the gap between rich and poor is growing every day. It's constantly harder to live as a middle-class worker and just make enough money to simply raise a family, and people might start saying enough is enough. Nostradamus predicted a massive shift in humanity in the year 2020 or 2021, that there will be a new consciousness and the public perception of how to act will be geared towards different ways of living. Maybe we will see a mass uprising of people who are underpaid and underappreciated, and that will lead to a new way of life. Coming into the number 1 spot, we have the end of days. I mean, it's not only Nostradamus that has predicted this to happen, but there have been a lot of people from all over the world who are constantly calling out that doomsday is coming. I mean, building a doomsday bunker is a whole subculture that people are constantly getting into. Ever since the pandemic kicked off, people have been stockpiling ammunition to make sure if anyone comes around their home looking for food, the only thing they're gonna find is hot lead. But maybe it is this year. It would seem that so many horrific things are crescendoing at the same time. We have a global pandemic that has been hitting the world so hard. We have climate change that is supposed to make our planet unlivable and possibly lead to the end of humanity. We have an economic crisis on the horizon that we haven't heard any action plan for, and on top of all of this, political tensions are at an all-time high. And not to mention, there's always one of those super volcanoes that could blow up at any second. I'm sure if something like that happened, we would all have the ample stress levels to deal with it, and none of us would freak out. We would all be super calm, of course.